Okay, so this is going to be a pretty quick overview of how to work on final R sounds. It's not really an easy thing to do. I think this is a good program to work on, especially at home with some help. Definitely encourage whoever's working on this to make sure someone's working with you while you work on this, just to make sure you are practicing the right sounds before you try to make it harder, which I'll go over in a minute, because you don't want to practice doing something incorrect. That'd be my only concern about if you're working on this by yourself. Just make sure someone's there to kind of say, yeah, that's correct, 90% correct, 100% correct. Because when you start doing this type of work, um, you'll start to get there, but it's not quite there. It still sounds a bit off sometimes. So you just might have to continue repeating and practice it at that level for a bit. Um, with that said, before working on your R's, your final R's, this program depends on you being able to say your initial R, the first R, correctly. So read, rat, race, rabbit. That R is a lot easier to make than all of these R's, which I'll explain in a minute. But I won't get into that initial R too much, but really the main thing you have to do is make sure your lips are spread. Typical errors, one, you round your lips, one instead of run, wabbit instead of rabbit. And I mean, if you smile, spread your lips, rabbit. It's really hard to make that R sound like a W. So you have to have that initial R correct. You have to get that first R correct in order for this to work. Now I'll explain that logic soon. um, Before I do that, though, I do want to talk a little bit about vowels because that's very important for final R's. Why? Well, because the final R, actually, there's like six of them, in my opinion, because the vowels precede that R, and so it shapes the R. Your jaw starts at a different spot when it's starting to move to where the R is. So you have R as in farm, air as in pear, ire as in tired, ear as in weird, as in dirt, and or as in fort. And pay attention to them. I'm talking about sounds, not letters. So the spellings that can be a little confusing. I have a lot of examples here for each sound, but for example, with the oh man, look at all this. Is er, but really you have it spelled as IRUR, EAR. The spelling is different. Just keep in mind the spelling is different from what you hear. And I'm focused on what you hear because we're working on our sounds, not working on spelling. So these are some words that kind of have you give you more idea what else to work on. So so get the first R down. Initial R is good. Second thing too is to keep in mind before I start working on this system is you want to try to get your tip of your tongue to go back here. If you do this and you bring that tip all the way back, you can't really see my mouth, but the tongue is going all the way back here. And if it hurts, or if you're triggering a gag reflex, that is explaining why you can't say your final R very well. I mean, you're not bringing your tongue back there. You cannot do an a really good old American final strong if your tongue doesn't go back there. If it's not the tip of the tongue, it's the back of the tongue, because that's the way you can produce that R too. R. See my tongue's down here. R or R. Sounds slightly different, but really it's close enough where people won't be confused what you're saying or think you have an accent or think it sounds different, whatever, right? So either way, your tongue is back here. So that's a really good exercise to work on if it's triggering gag reflex or it just feels weird. Get that tongue back there. You can start by clicking up front and you bring it back. Obviously, if clicking your tongue up here is not going to help anything. Okay, this is just so you know what I'm talking about. But you click your tongue and you bring it all the way back. Just like that. So that will help. Again, if you feel something weird or if it hurts, that explains why this final R is not working. Now to talk about these vowels a little bit. I won't try to get into this too much, but think this is the side of your mouth. This is your top teeth here, your bottom teeth down here. This is your throat then going down here. Now, this is talking about low. That's talking about the point where your tongue is. So when you say ah, see how my mouth is open? Ah, this is a low sound. Ah, and the tongue is up here too. Ah. So where each of these vowels are, that's where the tip of the tongue is. Ah, 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 ah. And so you can kind of see where if you do that, you'll see that your tongue moves back and forth. Likewise up here, e, e. It's not really a tip, but it's more of like the tongue placement is like right here at the top. E. That's where the obstruction is. That's where something's getting in the way of the air. E, right top front. E. So you have e, a, I. Oh well, and then and then of course we have the diphthongs, which you take a sound, you drag it. I, ow, oi, oi. Okay, oi. So you start one part of your voice and drag to another. Those are called the diphthongs. So the vowels are very much like a color wheel. I mean, it's it's somewhat subjective. Accents typically are heard within the vowels because it's just this that infinite color wheel where you just pick that spot and you can just the shade just shades from one color to another on the computer. I hope you get the reference, but so it's just very colored and it's very free flowing and yes, a little subjective. But knowing where your tongue is starting and where it's stopping, or knowing where to put it in your mouth, you have the obstruction at the top or bottom of your mouth. Like, is your mouth open or is it closed? That's another way of thinking about it. If it's closed, it's like E, it's at it's a high, it's top, it's high. Knowing all this will help you to be able to well, yeah, say the vowels correctly, but more importantly, be a little more aware of the R's. Because again, all the vowels impact the R. So, right here, honestly, I think the is more back here. This is where I don't necessarily agree with this. This might be a British, going off the British vowel system. So this might be more of that feels more central rather than So this could be not standard American English dialect. I have a feeling this is British, like I said. So either way, it's more in the middle of your mouth or it's top back. That's what I would say. The is back here. So you bring that tongue back here. And so if you keep this idea in mind with these vowels, R, let's see, where's R. That's kind of what your tongue's doing. R, R. And same thing with let's see, air. So right here, air, air, air. Ire, rate, where's I at? I, I think it's right down here. Right here. Hi, hi, right here. Kind of an E there actually. If I think about it, it's more starting. It's more here. Sure, it's like so. It's a little. That one's a confusing one. Oh, wow, it really is. So I'll think of it. I like to think that one more as a E. If you think about it, ear. That's where it's going to. So that your tongue is making that motion. And so if you visualize that in your head, it'll be a little easier for you to try to emulate it, try to do it rather than just, take a stab at the dark in it. Okay, oh, good old lots of that's so many words. So again, central It's almost like starting in the middle here. It's like at a resting spot. You just bring it up and back, and then fort, oh, you don't have to tilt your head when you do that. Or I like to do that though, or it just really brings it home for some reason for me. Does not sound natural, I am sure. Okay, that was so much background. Oh my gosh, it's like a it's a intense crash course lesson on um phonetics right there. But hopefully this is you're familiar with this. Hopefully you're already seen a speech therapist or an accent coach or something. And so hopefully it's not all completely new. Again, I can't stress enough how important it is that you work on this with someone else. If you're not starting to get a correct production of it, careful, careful, careful. I don't want you to practice it incorrectly. That it would be my biggest concern. But with that said, there are 3 levels to work on this. And so you have it in isolation, words, and then phrases. The isolation you might be stuck at for a while, and you might improve quicker on some than others. R, I feel, is probably one of the easier ones to produce because your mouth is so open. I feel like that transition is just a little easier. Um, Or it could be a little harder. And one thing keep in mind too with or, that one, oh, your mouth is rounded a bit. So it might be helpful to keep your mouth rounded for the R on that, but the rest of them, just like with initial R, run, it's good to keep your lips spread there. Okay, so we'll start with farm. So the idea of this is you're essentially doing um um you're doing a vowel R vowel. Vowel or vowel. So you're taking this word and you're stripping part of the word or adding something to the word to make a nonsense word to put it in a different context that helps your mouth, that helps your brain, that helps you for some reason to make that R sound more clear. And I mean that some reasons kind of has to do with core articulation. In a nutshell, is pretty much you can say the R correctly at the beginning of the word. So if you take that and pair it at the end of the word, it kinda your mouth kinda starts going into that position since it can already do it. Hope that makes sense. So in other words, if we have we have ray, again, ray, re, ri, ro, ru. Those are initial R's, okay? R at the beginning of the word or phrase or syllable, the nonsense syllable in this case. So we have Faray. So again, that initial R you can say correctly. So that means when you're doing that final R, your tongue is going to instinctually try to go to the correct position for that initial R. So faray. And like I said, it's kind of or vowel consonant vowel. It's kind of what it looks like. But that's one way to look at it. Another one is, like I said, you have an initial word and you slap or initial nonsense syllable and you slap it at the end of a final R word or word part, in this case, farm. So this is what I think you should do. Again, you might be stuck at this level for a while. Faray, 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 faray. I think it was 5 times. Then farm. Do the next one. Fari, 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 farm. And of course, you do that for the other ones. Farai, faro, faru. I'm suggesting 5 times. You can play around with it. You can alternate it. Faray, farm, faray, farm, faray, farm. Um, I mean, because you're trying to train your ear to get that R. So I don't know how many this ray, re, ri, ro, ru is a crutch. It's a crutch. You can say those correctly, so it's there to help you. And so I don't know, you're the best judge to know how many times you have to use that crutch before you attempt this to walk without the crutch. Before you attempt to say the final R sound by itself. Farm. And like I said, 5 times. safe bet. But if you alternate it, say it twice, faru, faru, farm, faru, farum, farm, it gives you more practice to actually say the word. And that's essentially that's the method. You just do that for each one. Pair, 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 and so on and so forth with ire, tire, 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 weird, 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 dirt, dirt, foray, fort. Again, obviously, stick with one sound, do all of them, that one word, and do all of them. Ray, the re, the ri, the ro, the ru. At least 5. That's my recommendation. And probably go on to another word. Which brings me to words. Not all words are equal. The words I picked here, I tried to make them easy. Meaning they're single, for the most part, they should be single syllable. Probably shouldn't have floor here now that I think of it, because there's an L there. Yeah, probably want to. There's a couple L's in here. We'll just leave them. But anything with L's will make it harder. Like for example, pearl, like L's, especially in the final position, pearl, world. Those are hard words, just because your tongue is doing so many different things. So yeah, I'm gonna get rid of these L's. Don't do these L's. Just don't. Don't do L's. Ooh, there's a lot here. And I don't have too many I's. That's okay. Don't do L's. Please don't. um, so yeah, so not all words are the same. Smaller the word is, the easier it is. Other sounds will confuse you or will confuse your mouth, your tongue, right? Because you're trying to train it to push it in a different spot, muscle memory, when it doesn't want to do it. So yeah, L, pearl, world, hard words. Those are some of the hardest. And so when you're training this, when you first started out, you want to try to start simple. The final R's are probably easier ones, like far, fur. Those are the easiest ones to start with. Uh, fire, that fire, uh, fire. Yeah, those 2 syllables. That's a little harder. Also, I put a lot in here where you have this final consonant at the end. And so obviously you are making nonsense words on that. Like a lot of these examples here, I have the final consonant split. That's a good way to practice. I just want to show you how you can practice words that don't end with a final R, but you still need to work on that R sound in farm that's in the medial position of words like farm. So you just strip that M, R, and then do your thing, and then just try to slap that M on there and see if it works. Again, that's a little harder. The ones that are easiest are the ones with just vowel at the end. Okay. Um, oh yeah, and I got all these lists off of this, all these words off here, tons of words there. That's a lot. You can just do home, just this first part, and you can navigate to it, whatever. But lots of free words. Obviously you can buy word lists, but free is great. Okay, so they have isolation, which is this, and then kind of doing the words. You're also trying to work at the word level, farm, 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 without the crutch. Next one is at the phrase level, which is now we're getting this is getting hard because the more you add to it, the harder it is. So you might find that it's 100% correct. And then at the word level, it's 95% correct. You put in a phrase level, it's maybe 80%, and then slowly deteriorated. So you might have to back up to the isolation. And definitely, again, try to have someone there who can say and hear the R correctly. So a phrase level, you want to start with an easy phrase. Of course, I don't have examples here, but you can say, again, you want to pick ones without L's. You want to pick easy, simple phrases like go, I go to the farm. Okay, or yeah, I go to the farm. I go to the farm. Farm. I go to the farm. What's another one? The pear. Um, I uh have a pair of socks. Okay. Easy word, assuming you can say your S's and all those other sounds. You know yourself best. But if R is your only issue, then this one should be fairly easy. And I like how pair is in the middle of the sentence too. It makes it harder if it's in the middle. Um, I have a pair of socks. Pair. I have a pair of socks. So that's something you can do. If you have it at the isolation level and you're starting to try to make it harder for yourself, you can just always bring it back if it doesn't sound quite right. All right, what's the next one? Tired. Tired. I am tired of speech. Tired. I almost like It's almost like Tired. That is kind of just like is an extra step, but it's worth practicing. I'm almost wondering if it should be in its own category, but I digress and I nitpick. So either way, be aware of where that tongue is going. Tired. Erd. Irie. So that one I broke it down even more. Ired, tire, tired, tired. I am tired of speech. I am tired of speech. I am tired of working on my R's. Tired. Okay. Weird. Uh, this is weird. Yeah, this is weird. Oh, sure. I'm sure this does sound weird. This is weird. Okay. This is weird. Weird. This is weird. This is weird. Travis is weird. You are weird. Awesome. Oh, by the way, I'm Travis Doctor, speech therapist. Okay. Dirt. There's a good old Um, dirt. This dirt tastes bad. I'm sure it does. Dirt. Dirt. This dirt tastes bad. This dirt tastes bad. Dirt. Fur. Oh, same thing. Or. Fort. I see a fort. So I see, I go, I have. Those are good things to throw on there that make it not too difficult. To make a simple phrase. Fort. I see a foray, fort. I see a fort. I see a foray. I see a foru. I mean, that's another way of doing that, just to kind of take up that crutch, and hobble along with it a bit. Good. I think that gives you a pretty good example. I see a fort. Yeah, have fun as much as you can. Um, I hope this helps. I hope this reinforces what you've already learned from other people. I hope this makes sense. I think the biggest thing in this whole instruction that's usually not taught, I think, formally, is this graphic here is typically not used, I don't think, to demonstrate how vowels can shape or impact their R. You're usually just told throw that R back, that tongue back there, but you're not necessarily told how this will also influence and shape and mess with your tongue movement without you realizing it. So it's good to be aware of that. All right, I hope that helps. Take care.